On this episode of StreetRat Garage, we're headed to Kentucky to nab ourselves a goose. On my way to Kentucky to meet up with Milo. Milo was on Roadkill 2019 Hot Rod Power Tour Edition. This is where they traded the cars every day on the Hot Rod Power Tour, starting in Bristol, Tennessee and going to Norwalk, Ohio. So Milo was the first guy. He traded his Jeep with no bed, his Jeep pickup truck, for 1972 Ford Maverick. The Maverick was used on a previous episode of Roadkill in the cheap car shootout. It has a 302 motor, and that's about the only good thing about the car. But he traded that car for a Jeep, and somebody on YouTube, one of the 4 or 5 people that actually watch this stuff, informed me that the car was on sale on eBay. So I threw a bid in and I won. So Milo was kind enough to meet me halfway, because he lives all the way down in Tennessee. It's like an 8-hour drive for me to go all the way down there and pick it up. So he was generous enough to meet me in Kentucky. So that's where we're at. Got the trailer packed up and headed down there. Now we're going to meet up with Milo. All right. So why don't you walk me through this real quick? What's this one all about?
Well, it won the cheap car challenge, I guess what they called it, episode 95 of Roadkill.
Right.
Against the, what, they have an S-10, they had a Crown Vic,
a Chevy Love truck.
Chevy Love truck, yeah, a couple of those things. I don't know why, but it didn't seem to be very popular with the hosts, Mike and David. But I think Mike liked it a little better.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, Goose did what he was supposed to do, and I asked Mike when I ended up trading my Jeep truck for this at Power Tour at Bristol Dragway, or Bristol Motor Speedway. And I asked him, I said, why did you name it Goose? And they said, well, because we didn't think it would be alive at the end of the episode. Much like poor Goose, it wasn't alive at the end of the Top Gun show.
Right, right.
So anyway, that's the origin of its name.
But it wound up doing pretty good. It took first place, right?
Yeah, and it was the first trade. And I have to say, Bristol, it was raining hard that day Power Tour was there, on and off all day.
Right.
And apparently I was really the only one that showed up that was crazy enough to be there and want to trade a car for it. Because they later told me, said, we were afraid we were going to have to take him to the next location.
Yeah, they didn't want to drive this. It was just shipped into Bristol, and then
right.
And then they would have had to drive it to Sparta, Kentucky.
Yep.
So they didn't want any part of that, because it was getting hot and stuff, wasn't it?
Well, I actually brought the original radiator. All the original tire came with it, the original radiator, everything. It had a partial grill in it and all that stuff, which I later, or first thing I did was take part of that stuff out. But it had it was originally a 6-cylinder car with air conditioning.
Right.
And that was its basically claim to fame back when it was, you know, manufactured, was a 6-cylinder with air conditioning. And they still had the condenser in front of the radiator.
Oh.
So first couple of days I pulled that out, got rid of the grill.
Right.
But the more I drove it, I noticed it did get warm. And so I put an aluminum radiator in it, put an overflow tank on it. And she's been pretty much good to go ever since.
Right on.
So, you know, they don't put a lot of effort into them, and I don't blame them, because, you know, typically, you know, they don't expect them to last a long time.
Right, right.
But, so I think that's part of the problem. Now, as far as sound and unique, other than the Chevy Love Truck, I mean, I like those things. He's probably top on my list. You know?
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, you don't see a lot of Mavericks around anymore, especially in the 4-door variety.
Right. Yeah. Believe it or not, I actually weighed it at a local scale.
Yeah.
And with me in it, about a half a tank of gas, it's like 32.50.
Oh, that's not bad.
Well, I didn't think so, considering, you know, you think 4-door is going to be a huge, you know, behemoth of a car.
Right.
And it's not that bad, really, I guess.
Right.
But it's a 302. Somebody took out the original 6, of course. I ran the block numbers, and it's out of 74 Maverick or Comet or Fairlane, that Ford, you know, genre car. So the engine's pretty close to the same year. I mean, it's a 72, so
right.
Got the small bumpers. I actually had a guy local stop me and ask me would I want to sell the cars, because he wanted the bumpers. Just
for the bumpers.
I thought, buddy, you can't. No, I can't do that. I'm not going to do it.
Right, right.
But,
so this draw you a lot of attention driving around?
Well, when I stopped to get gas at my second stop, I come out of the store, and the guy was eyeballing it, and he says, "Oh, is that a real roadkill car?" And I told him the story, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's right." He said, "That's pretty cool." So yeah, I don't know, people watch roadkill, and a lot of times they don't believe that it's the car.
Right.
But a lot of them say, well, you don't see Mavericks on the road much anymore. I get more of that than, was that really the roadkill car?
All right, come on back. Looks good. Looks good. Yeah. Got underneath here. Oh, you must have cleaned it up a bit, huh? I'm sure.
Well, yeah, the water pump was blue like the engine block.
Right.
And it had faded, and some of the paint had wore off. The aluminum brackets, accessory brackets,
right,
they were all kind of, you know, almost like this. Not real shiny, and I couldn't stand that, so I ended up, my radiator had gotten tarnished a little bit too, so I took it all out, dolled it up a little bit. I wasn't about to try to get the valve covers off and polish all that. So.
Yeah, somebody was trying to do something here at one time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they did it under here.
Right.
They did all that. They had the engine out and everything. Yeah.
Well, they were really polishing this turd.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the original hold down. I was going to replace it, and I thought, but except for the radiator, the There's that.
Right.
And I put an extra cleaner on top. Now, you can tell it's rubbed just a little bit around the top on the hood. But when I was taking it to the StreetRat drag strip, they were saying, oh, I bet that's choking it out. You need more volume in that thing, more air volume.
Right.
So I just bought an extra one, longer bolt, stuck it together.
Right on.
So
it doesn't look too bad though.
That 15 horsepower. Not.
Yeah, well
I watched your video when you were putting that, I think you're putting the gauges in the C10.
Yeah.
Talked about the plastic line as opposed to the copper.
Right.
So down here.
Oh, there it is.
Right there. I ran the copper line. That's thanks to you, man, because I knew I was going to take it to the track.
Right, yeah, they don't like that plastic.
So I ran the copper, and you can kind of see it goes in right there.
Right.
Behind the intake. That's the wire for the temperature gauge and oil pressure. This was the original pad, and I pulled it out to see the condition of the trunk, and it's solid. That's the original tire. It was on the passenger side.
That's a smoky burnout tire.
I drove home about 7 or 8 miles with that in pouring rain.
Ooh.
Didn't realize it until I got home the next day and started looking at it. I said, oh.
Well, Goose is unloaded off the trailer and here at StreetRat Garage, so we will go over him and see exactly what he's made of and what we may or may not need to do to get it ready for next season. Hopefully we can take it to the drag strip, get a baseline 1/4 mile on it, and improve upon that. I believe Milo, the gentleman that owned it before me, ran a 15, I can't remember, 15.5, 15.7, something like that. I'll have to look at the time slips that he left, but let's have a look and see what we have. Once you pop the hood on old Goose here, it's not as bad as what it seems like on the outside. There's a pretty decent looking 302 in here. I believe it came out of a 74, well, it did come out of a 74 something, another Maverick or Fairmont, Fairlane, Mustang. No, they didn't have, I don't think they had any V8s at all in 1974 in any of the Mustangs. I think the best you could get in one of those was a 6-cylinder, kind of weird looking one, offset heads. But what the previous owner Milo did, he replaced this radiator. It's got a nice shiny new Chinese made cheapy radiator that works just fine. There's nothing wrong with those radiators. I run them all the time. Painted things, cleaned up the water pump, and polished all the billet aluminum that was already on here. Let's see, we got a, looks like we got a new fuel regulator, new spark control box, a little bit more volume on the air filter. Goose comes with a Holly carburetor. Let's see, is it double pumper? Nope, it's a single. Vacuum secondaries, electric choke. It looks like, I would guess a 600 at best. I can't see the numbers, and I don't care to look right now. But it's pretty decent underneath. It's all ready to go to the drag strip. You got your overflow tank here. I believe that's supposed to be at least 12 or 16 ounces, one of the two. I have to look that up. And since it goes to the drag strip, you have to have a battery hold down. Apparently that passes. I think that, what is that? House wire? Something like that. So we got a newer or newish power lead and maybe a newer solenoid there. And we'll go to the back of the car where it has a newer, oh, it's hard to see, but it's a Holley fuel pump, or a Holley style fuel pump. I don't see a name on it, but it has a lot of rubber fuel line on here. If they look at the track, they're not going to like that. So that's one thing we're going to have to do. It's got too much, more than 6 inches of rubber fuel line on there. It's got a few T's here. Don't know if you can see that. Might have to play around with that a little bit. No big deal. That's easy enough to fix. Plus, they really don't tick that well. Oop, upside down. They don't tick that well on test and tune night. I don't think they're going to crawl underneath the car. They barely even open the hood sometimes. Well, let's go to the interior. Not a whole lot's been done in here, but we do have this nice little southwestern seat cover. Makes the seat look a lot nicer. You gotta, I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is, but you know, a mask. You can wear it as a mask until 2021 when this is all over, hopefully. So that's about it on the upgrades. We got a box of parts. There's a broken grill from the Roadkill show that was taken out, probably to replace later, but I kind of like the broken grill. I might just put that back in. Maybe zip ties and duct tape. The door's shut pretty fair. They called this car kind of rusty on the show, but here in the Midwest, this is a super solid car. It has good quarter panels, almost good quarter panels. There's a crack of rust there, but the rest of that is really solid. I mean, if this had been in the Midwest, none of this would be here. It'd be all rusted. There's a little bit of rust here on the door, a tad here, a tad up here, hiding under some, they call that gap tape or something. Better form of duct tape. There's a little bit of rust here and there, but overall this is a really solid car. Has real good quarter panels, has real good floor pans, rocker pans. For some reason this hood got super rusty. I'm not sure why. You know, this may have spent some time near the seaboard. It's the only thing I can really think of. But good car. Now, oh, I forgot. There was a spool added to this car, and I have taken this out on the road a couple of times, and it didn't feel right taking off, and I finally figured that out. Anytime you put a mini spool or a full spool in a car, both of your tires are going to turn at the exact same speed. So I got to looking here, and this tire is a 245/60, and this tire is, where is it? Is a 215/70. So this tire is shorter. Yep. So that tire on the passenger side is shorter. and that is what causes it not to fill right, because the smaller tire is spinning just a fraction faster than the bigger tire, and it's causing, you know, this one to try and spin a little bit more, a little bit faster, and causing drag. So that is definitely a problem, and we'll probably actually pick up a couple tenths just by changing that tire and making them both the same size. It's no big deal, it's an easy fix, and I actually did that the first time I ever installed a mini spool in one of my vehicles. You don't think about it, and then you wonder why it doesn't quite feel right. But like I said, no big deal, easy fix. Would like to put a 5-lug rear end in this. That would be a lot better. So old Goose is sitting here with what they called this guy, I keep forgetting this name, Homewrecker, the 63 Belvedere. So they're going to be stored in the garage together, side by side, until next spring. Then we'll get them both out and see what kind of havoc we can cause. So let's close the hood on this one and run down the street and see what it sounds like. I really should change that tire before I take it on the road, but it'll be fine. It's not that big a deal. Not going to go very far, very fast. Yeah, I am. But if it breaks, it breaks. I want a new rear end anyway. So let's go for a ride. It seems to have a little bit of weak sauce going on those burnouts. There was a mini spool added to this, which give it some more bite, more so than when it was on the show. It was a single track. So it's definitely hooking up better. It's going to need a little bit more power to get those smoky burnouts rolling. Maybe some nitrous, maybe supercharger, torch storm, something like that. Whatever we can find cheap. Gonna surf the old internet, see what we come up with. We come up with something for around $500, $600, $700, something used. We'll throw that on there, make some adjustments, see what we can do. But for now, we're just taking it out for a ride and getting a good feel for it. The car is a little bit wandery in the front end, if that's a word. So we may have to check those tie rod ends. What does this have? Racking? Does this have racking pinion in 72? I don't think so. I'm gonna have to check those tie rod ends, check those out. It probably needs to be aligned. The springs were replaced on this, so that would change the geometry of the wheels. Alignment, check the ball joints and tie rod ends, and get this thing a little more straight. It's pretty good right now, but it could stand to be a little bit better. We're going to go drag racing with it. Well, besides that, it's running great. There's nothing wrong with it. It shifts through all the gears. It has some pretty decent acceleration. The price I paid for it is fine. I have absolutely no complaints about the car, besides what I just complained about. But of course, it's not a $10,000 car, so you can't complain at this price point at all. So we'll get this back in the garage and probably just get it covered up for now and start searching the old internet and see what we can find. Until next time.